Hello, Mr. Perkins. How are you?
Awesome. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good.
It's 6 o'clock. Want to go?
Yeah, Mike, what I want to do is we have to revisit third-party requests, so I'd like to save that for the end of the meeting if possible.
Okay.
We got Dave coming on right now. Let's give him just a couple of seconds, get fired up. Max is on.
Are we changing the order from what you had?
Yeah, so we're gonna start out with the library. We're gonna do Dave Savage on code, public safety, and maintenance, and then the police department's going to come in last, and then we'll do the budget. The third party requests. We got Dave Savage coming on right now too, so we'll let him fire up. How you doing, Dave? You're going to need to get that straightened out, Kelly. You may want to send Mike or yourself in the other room.
See today.
Gary, by my count, we have everybody here.
Okay, let's get Kelly. We'll let Kelly get her situation straightened around. Are you ready, Kelly?
I'm ready. We
Okay.
mute.
Sorry, Gary.
No problem.
Yep, we're good.
Everybody see that about Dave Savage? Dave Coughlin's tone test.
Is what?
Dave Groder mentioned something. You're going to be interrupted with a tone test because they haven't been done yet.
Oh, okay.
Ryan, we're going to let Mike Perkins start this thing out.
Yeah, he just needs to unmute himself.
Okay, Mike, you got to unmute yourself. You're muted. Can you unmute him, Ryan?
I can only ask to unmute him right now because he hasn't been.
Okay. So why don't you walk him through on how to unmute?
If you hover
Mike,
over your.
Thanks, guys. Here we go. Good
Okay.
evening, everyone. We'll start this meeting tonight. Thank you. I'd like to apologize to everyone here. This has been a strange week for me here at the office. I've had my office manager happen to walk out the door on Monday, so I've been stuck doing everything, and on such a short notice, I couldn't get anyone to do my Zoom classes online last night and the night before. So I thank you and I apologize. I'm gonna turn it over to Gary. Gary, you had your order you want to do it in tonight?
Right, we're gonna follow the sheet, and we're gonna start right off with Sarah Roy and Jean Roy with the library. Sarah, the library. The floor is yours. You can start off with your narrative and go through it that way instead of coming off from the sheet.
Corey, go ahead.
Hey, can you just give me a call when you.
Public libraries on page 30.
Yeah, Sarah, you need to unmute yourself.
Sarah, go ahead and unmute yourself. You're muted.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yes, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit.
Okay, wages, 3% COLA. Head librarian, 39,915. Assistant librarian, 22,118. Library aide, 14,493. Part-time aides, 2,841. Car allowance at $166 per month equals 2,000. Subscriptions, no change. Maintenance of equipment, and that's our Transco copying machine, no change. Insurance, slight increase. Office supplies include bookends, copy paper, book covers, etc., no change. Postage, no change. Books decreased by $1,000. Program expenses, no change. Computer expenses, $5,500. Web page upkeep, ebooks, Wi-Fi, etc., no change. Movies, DVDs, no change. Fuel, $8,025. 3,838 gallons at $2.09 per gallon. Telephone, no change. Electricity, no change. Sewer and water, no change. Maintenance of building, $11,500 includes move electronics from brick wall to freestanding rack, yearly elevator inspection, and general maintenance.
Have we got any questions for Sarah?
We have one in the
Okay.
chat.
Yeah, Nate Bernier. Have we seen an electric bill reduction due to the LED upgrades? Do we know the savings? We definitely have seen a reduction in the amount of money we're paying for electricity. Kelly, do you have any idea what the numbers are? Do you have those with you?
We're gonna be seeing even a bigger reduction with the solar array amounts as well, the solar credits. So where are they? Library. I mean, I haven't really put together a spreadsheet yet on the savings for the LED lighting, but I know there's been a reduction. I just don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
All right, Kelly, why a reduction $1,000 of books? We haven't been spending the money every year. There's always a surplus left over. And so we cut it back $1,000.
That's fine.
That's here or electrical?
No, books
Yeah.
were decreased.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Any other questions for Sarah?
How about the guy that donated the stock worth 20 grand? Did we ever figure out, find out what that was worth in the long run?
Kelly, I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, so Camden National ended up investing, they took ownership of the stock and then they sold it, and it was just a little over $30,000. And then they reinvested it in the Vanguard Wealth. And I should be getting a quarterly statement here soon from Camden to know what that is now at, so. And I think we're gonna take the 1250 after July 1st for Sarah to spend at her discretion.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
That sounds good, thanks.
Yeah, it took a little while to get that thing situated. It was a little more complicated than what we thought it was going to be.
yeah.
Yeah,
He was very specific on what he wanted it, how he wanted it handled, so, but he was pleased. So,
thank you.
Anything else for Sarah before she goes off air? Okay, Sarah, have a nice evening. You can go
Thank
home
you.
unless you want to watch it.
No, I have to eat.
Okay. All right, we have code enforcement. We have Dave Savage here.
Can you hear me? I'm having some problems on my end.
No, we can hear you just fine.
Perfect. You always tell me that.
17, page 17, folks.
I can read this word for word, but the first section really hasn't changed a whole lot from last year. The 3% COLA is in there. Probably there'll be more questions on really the contractual services, so I figure I'll get to that one quicker. There is $10,000 in there for legal fees. That's more for the town's attorney and some of our property maintenance violations. Having a lot of trouble getting people to cooperate, so we've been going through the court process to deal with it. And the other change in that contractual services is I talked to Gary about this, and that 1650 is designed to pay planning board and appeals board members. It's a flat rate of $30 per meeting. That's nothing the board members have asked for. But they usually see a lot of the bigger projects on the planning board. So they're administering, our ordinances, they're shoreline zoning, site plan review. So they're doing a lot of technical work on that. That's why I thought that. The appeals board, they're kind of on the other end of the spectrum. They've met several times last year. Normally, people are appealing my decisions on not permitting something. So again, they're got a technical aspect on what they're reviewing. That's why them two have been added in there. Other than that, the rest of it is pretty much the same as before.
I just want to mention that most of your towns are paying the appeals board and planning committees, so we were one of the ones who weren't. And Dave certainly has been using them a lot more than what they've been used in the past. Dave, you want to talk about the property maintenance a little bit?
Gene Ponitz had a question. I don't know if you want to get to that.
Okay.
Could you elaborate on what sorts of problems are encountered?
Got
I
that,
guess
Dave?
I'm not sure exactly what the question's asking. If questions like regarding property maintenance, people usually don't want to clean up, and it works its way through the ordinance process, which includes court. I'm not sure if that answered the question or not.
Is that good, Don? Apparently so. Dave, share with us what the process is with the property maintenance.
Property maintenance, some of them is complaint driven. Some of it is just stuff that I've seen in the past. How the ordinance is written. I try to work with them just verbally to start with. If that don't work, they get a letter of violation. Normally they get 2 and sometimes 3 letter of violations before we even consider involving the attorney and the district court because of the costs associated with that. The other problem that I run into last year, as you look, there's not much been spent out of that line. Actually, last year's line come out of a different account, so this has been separated from the town's legal fees. Last year, we didn't use a lot of legal fees because the courts have been pretty much closed since last April. You'll probably hear the same thing from the police is the courts really are still at this date not scheduling a whole lot of cases whatsoever. And where there are land use violations, I think we're at the very bottom of the bucket to have stuff scheduled. So that's kind of the process for any type of land use violation.
Perfect. I'm just going to go and throw a plug here a little bit about zoning. A lot of the issues that we have are new businesses cropping up in residential areas. I mean, we're all pretty familiar with what's going on up on South Gage Road. And, we've got issues around town. And again, we're the only town that has no zoning. Even the little town of Benton has 3 different districts. And I really think that for us to continue to move forward and as Oakland grows, we have to be thinking about that. Hotspots that we have right now, we've got a property on Church Street, we've got a property on Pleasant Street, we've got South Gage Road. We continue to have a few issues on High Street. Fairfield Street, we got a property that's located across from the trailer park. What makes this difficult is the people who own these properties don't look at this as a problem. I mean, this is their stuff, and I've had these words actually said to me, and Dave has too. So it really makes it a challenge. you know, you come over here in town of Fairfield, and a prime example is the antique place that's sitting on 201. You have one person who's keeping his place clean, and the next person who really, I mean, it's a disaster. Fire hazard, health hazards. The town of Fairfield spent $50,000 to get him into compliance. He cleaned it up a little bit, and now he's right back where it was. You know, so this is a real battle. It's something that costs a lot of money if we don't do it correctly. But we're trying. It has to happen. I mean, we have to at least make an effort. And I applaud Dave for his tenacity. He's brought some new life back into the code enforcement department. He's experienced, he's knowledgeable, he's smart. He comes with a law enforcement background, which is certainly a benefit. So he's doing a good job. Any other questions for Dave before he calls it a night? Is it only property maintenance problems that you're dealing with, Dave?
It is not. One of the other ones that did make it to the court but didn't actually have to go was a dangerous building. The roof was actually collapsing on it. Another dangerous building was actually the front of it fell off. And there's legal fees sometimes just for the documents and filing stuff with like the registry of deeds for decisions the town makes. And also it's worth mentioning on the legal fees, we try to do our best to recover them fees. And one example, just so you understand, I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money, but there's one case that went to court last year that the town spent upwards of $7,000 for attorney fees. And we got somewhere in the area of 6,600 of that back from the person that was in violation. So that number does come up, it goes down, but we definitely look at that avenue to recover that money. So far, we've been pretty successful.
And for those people, I mean, sometimes it's hard to get blood out of a turnip, and sometimes those people, if they don't pay it, we have to lien their property. So it's going to be years and years before we get any value out of that. Okay. Anything else for Dave? Thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
So the next one we have up is actually going to be our public safety. And that's on page
17.
19, public safety. I don't have a problem going through this. So starting right off the top, hydrant rentals, we've got another big increase.
It's a 5% increase that starts next January to June. So it's a 6-month, 5% increase.
You know, and that's going from $208,000 a year to $220,000. You know, I know this is mind blowing for us to have a hydrants, and it costs that much money, and there's not a darn thing that any of us can do about it because these rates are set by the PUC. So we're kind of, they're holding us hostage on that. You know, and the other sad situation is as you get further away from town, the water pressure gets less and less. And so some of those hydrants really don't amount to too much. I know that Dave has been trying to work with the water company to try to get that rectified. Traffic lights were remaining the same at $2,000. Street lights, electricity, $20,225. We got streetlight insurance. Since we've bought the 282 streetlights, we have to pay for insurance on them. That's $865. Dispatch services, as you know, that took a huge increase back last year. We've signed on with a 3-year contract with them. We're still paying $92,185. I actually did make a phone call just recently to Mike Smith up to Somerset Communications, and he told me outright, he says, I can't compete with it, you know, which is upsetting. So, I mean, we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place with that one. Animal control, that remains the same at $17,000. Humane Society, that's based on per capita. They have had a slight increase this year. I think it's $1.64 per person, if I recall. I'd have to look at it to really completely say that's the truth. $10,484. PSAP charges, that's the 911 services that Somerset Communication does for us. That's $9,548. So basically, between our dispatch and 911 calls, we're paying well over $100,000 for that project. Fiber optics, line pole charge, that remains the same at $2,200. Communications tower, that's the tower that we have up on High Street that we're renting off from Bill Musro, $5,192. We got a few questions.
You got a couple
here.
questions, Gary.
Yeah, I'll do my best to answer them. What does a street light insurance cover? Well, it's insurance. If there's a motor vehicle accident that takes out a pole and destroys the pole, the light, then we've got insurance to cover that. If somebody should get injured from the light for some reason, if it drops off the pole, hits somebody in the head, then we got insurance to cover that. Angela Jurdak, how is the new animal control officer doing? We actually have two. We have Steve Craig and we have Delson from the Public Works Department. Delson's doing outstanding. I see Pat at Buddy's today, asked him how his team was doing, and he's thrilled with Delson. And I got an idea that this young man's going to step up and do some nice things for the town. As you know, he's a full-time employee down in the Public Works Department, and they all rave about him down there. He's smart. He's young, so he's bringing a lot to the table. Any other questions on?
You did have Donna Hashi-Doucette in regards to the fire hydrants. I think she asked, are they working any better?
Are they working any better, Donna? Well, not really. I mean,
Well,
you know,
no, you answered it, Gary, when you did
Yeah.
answer it. When I was asking if the father ones were working any better, and you made it clear they're not working any better.
well, the water company did come in and do some work. They went up on South Alpine Street and replaced some of those lines and they actually increased the diameters of them. And they did some work on Water Street too. I'm not sure. I can't recall if they're scheduled to come back into Oakland, but it is a problem. Fortunately, we have good equipment that has large water carrying capacity, and we can team up. I mean, with the lake not too far away, we can have trucks drawing from the lake and going to the fire. So, you know, we've kind of got some redundancy built into that whole process. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's more that the price keeps going. Okay.
Say that again. I didn't copy that, Donna.
No, I was just thinking that the price keeps going up, and so we should be getting more out of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
I-
Nate
We are
has a,
getting a little bit out of it because we do pay those large $17,000 plus a month bills with our credit card. And then we're going to be getting a JP Morgan rebate back on that payment.
Oh, good.
So we
Good.
do reap some
Okay, thank you.
kickback from it. So.
you know, Nate raises a good point too. He stated that although it's expensive, it's important to remember we save the taxpayers well over that on home and business insurance every year. And that's correct. I mean, the insurance is down because of the hydrants, but it's a hard pill to swallow when you're writing that out of the taxpayers' pockets. Thank you, Nate, for bringing that up. No other questions? We're going to move on. Okay, next up, we've got maintenance, AJ Kane. Is he unmuted?
Hit the unmute button. Hey, oh, you're good.
Am I good to go?
You are good to go, sir.
Okay, starting out with personnel services. Building supervisor, 3% cost of living at $58.39. Full-time wages, the ground assistant increase of 85 cents plus 3% cost of living to $38,242. Building assistant, 3% cost of living, also $38,242. Seasonal wages reflects a 25-cent increase for 3 summer employees at $21,195. Janitorial personnel, we had a little error in, but we corrected that today. I think everybody got it. Actually reflects a 41 cent increase plus 3% cost of living for one employee and a 3% cost of living for two other employees, bringing that to 29,078. Car allowance at $150 per month is $1,800. Maintenance garage, heating fuel, figured at 1,143 gallons at $2.25 per gallon is $26.15. Telephone, internet, and cell phone, no change at 2,000. Electricity, again, no change at 1,100. Water and sewer increased due to a septic system, which we're hoping to install next summer. Instead of having a tank pump constantly, be some savings in the future for that. Contractual services, funds for stone repair and tree removal in the cemeteries is at $5,000. Insurance, no change at $86.23. Supplies and materials, gas, oil, and lube, no change, $53.55. Wearing apparel, $450 clothing allowance for 3 full-time employees at $13.50. Supplies, funds for cleaning supplies, paper products, floor finish, light bulbs, and other miscellaneous items for all town buildings, also no change at $7,500. Equipment and capital improvements, equipment repair and maintenance, funds for maintenance and repair on all vehicles, lawn care equipment increased to previous expenditures at $4,000. Equipment purchases, fund for purchasing ground maintenance equipment and tools actually decreased to $1,500 this year. Building maintenance repairs, maintenance for 3 buildings, including furnace service and fire extinguisher inspections, also no change at $1,500. Cemetery improvements, funds for addition of an urn garden layout at Lewis Cemetery. That account actually decreased from last year to $2,500. Memorial Hall, fuel figured at 4,082 gallons of heating fuel at $92.15. Electricity, sewer, water, both no change. Maintenance repair, this furnace cleaning again, fire extinguisher inspection, along with other maintenance, again, no change at $1,500. Historical museum, electricity, no change at $200. Building maintenance and repair, again, that's fire extinguisher inspection along with other routine maintenance, only at $100. Cascade storage, again, it's just the inspection of the extinguisher and any other maintenance on the building for $200. And flower project is funding that was added to the budget, I believe, was last year. It was increased a little bit this year for the rising costs to $2,100.
Any questions for AJ? Somebody's got a dog barking in the background. We got one.
Okay, Gene, what we're trying to do, I spoke with Dave Savage, he come over. We have just a tank next door to my newer shop, if you will, that is pumped out, I'm gonna say every 3 months at a $225 to $250 charge. They've come over, we sat down, put some numbers together, and we think we can put a septic tank in leach field out there for pretty well under this price. I put a little extra in just to be sure as to when we do it, because we will need to probably pump, a few more times in the budget before we have it done. But it's going to set back as far as we can hold it to that back tree line.
Donna Hatchie, AJ, did you get the trees down in the cemetery?
We did not. One reason I had 2 different outfits come in and actually look at them. Neither was interested in even giving us a price. I'm thinking just because of the amount of work and I don't know if there's danger involved. That I kind of held off on doing it with the whole COVID thing. I wanted to see where we're landed before the end of the budget. I'm hoping to take some out of this existing budget that we're in come this spring And then with the remaining money that I put into next year's budget, take out any others that we can possibly take out that are have to come down.
Quick question, AJ, is that on the old part of the cemetery?
Yeah, it's basically what is known as Middle Cemetery. It's up on the far end of Old Belgrade Ave. We've got a few big ones up there that need to come down, but I also have one really large maple over next to Steve Craig's, the upper cemetery. That is going to be a tough one to take down as well.
Okay. Are they concerned about destroying headstones? Is that what the problem is?
Yeah, that's the biggest fear. It only takes a few stones and you're going to have, you know, many more thousands of dollars in repairs than what it take to, you know, take down one tree.
Right. And those are historic stones too. They've been there
Yeah,
for-
it's all the real old sections of the cemetery.
Right. Any other questions for AJ? Well, we got one. I have someone I can share with you, AJ. I'll stop in at some point.
Okay, Nate, I believe, Nate, last year you gave me a contact. And I believe I reached out to them. I think they were one of the ones that did not have any interest in taking them down. But if not, stop over and see me anyhow.
Anything else for AJ? Okay, thank you, AJ. You did a good job.
you.
You know, I just want to mention a little bit about AJ too. He's one of our local heroes. This guy keeps the town going. He and his crew, you can count on him for doing about anything. It's, I think every one of the department heads can say the same thing that I'm saying. I don't care what it is. We're working on a streetlight conversion and AJ's doing homework on that for me. And I really appreciate his help on that. But I mean, we've got some issues in the new police department with some water issues, and he's kind of gone in there and figured out how to resolve it. There's really not a heck of a lot that he can't do. We're very lucky to have him. AJ, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have, last but not least, our police department, and we have Chief Tracy and Deputy Chief Stubbert here for that.
Good evening. Are we ready to go?
Page 13 through 16, folks. We're ready when you are, Chief.
Okay, you can hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Well, that's good. With your headphones there, good. Personnel services, that is a market adjustment for myself and 3% COLA for all employees. The overtime, reserves, and holidays remains the same despite the salary increase. I think we can keep it there. Fringe benefits are what they are. Contractual services, the telephone is still at 10.5. That's no change. That is for all the landlines that come in, the fax lines, cell phones, and the air cards, which are those things that run the computers in the car. Auto repairs, $7,000. There's no change there. Equipment maintenance, $10,000. That includes all of our maintenance agreements for our copier, for IMC, which is our records management system, which is nearly $6,000 just by itself. And then all the other equipment and repairs orders that would go along with that. Training and memberships, $9,000, and that includes the biggest item there is the ammunition and the firearms qualification costs, as well as all the costs for the mandatory trainings that police are required to do every year. There are programs that we purchase for that. Court expenses, I have it $0, and I know that Dave Savage alluded to what's going on in the courts right now, which is very little. They're almost at a standstill, to the point that departments are allocated how many criminal misdemeanor summonses and how many felonies they are allowed for each court date. And those numbers are, you wouldn't even believe them. They're almost non-existent. So we're kind of in the middle of a mess there. Insurance, that's workers' comp and other costs for the police department insurances. IT support is $14,652. That went up. That's, again, the cost of doing business. We get our IT services from Waterville. When we talk about our IMC, which is our record management system, again, They actually house that on their server. They maintain it on a daily basis. They maintain all our computer systems here at the station, and frankly, they're the best around. So we're getting a pretty good deal with that, regardless of the fact that they went up. Union negotiation legal fees, we put $750 back in there because in the coming year, we will be at some point negotiating contract again. So that's why that is there. Office supplies, there's no change there. Again, that's just general office supplies for printers and staples and pens and weapons permits and all those kinds of things that we deal with on a daily basis. Vehicle supplies, $4,000. That's for tires, cleaning supplies, emergency gear, and other miscellaneous related to the cruisers. We are keeping a cruiser rather than trading it in this year, one of them, so there would be a little bit added cost there. So wearing apparel remains the same, $10,000, and I know we have that conversation every year on how much uniforms cost. It's ridiculous, to be honest with you, but you have to, you have to pay it because they are what they are. Gas, oil, and lube, that's figured at $15,750, and that's 7,000 gallons of gas at $2.10 a gallon, which is the price that we pay apparently. So building costs, fuel is 1,560 gallons of propane at $1.09 per gallon. So that's how that is figured at $38.75. Electricity is $4,100, and Kelly could tell you why that's reduced due to the solar power. I think she's talked about that in other budget items as well. Sewer and water remains at $1,500. Maintenance and repairs, $3,000, and that's for maintenance to the building. And we have had a few issues here and there. Gary talked about how much AJ has done, and I agree. I could spend the rest of my time certainly singing his praises as well. There were, some heating, cooling system issues that we had to deal with this year. There were some water issues in the garage that we had to deal with. So that's what that money is for. Under equipment costs, new equipment, that went up to $8,800. And what that includes is our annual computer upgrades. We figure at $3,000. Bulletproof vest is $800. And with that, we apply for an MMA grant, and we buy one, they buy two. So we actually get 3 vests for that cost. And that's a really good deal. And then the new budget line, we added $5,000, which we actually added in last year's budget, but it was cut. Thank you, COVID. So we added that back in, and that's for those replacements of items that are very costly to replace as they age out. And that's radios, both mobile radios, which are in the cruisers, the portable radios that the guys carry with them. That's also the computers in the cars, the rifles, our handguns, tasers, radars, all those equipment items that wear out over time. That's why we're adding that money in there. The next thing is the special details. That went to $7,000, and that's kind of a slippery thing. We never know every year what that's going to be. COVID really kind of threw a wrench at us on that one, simply because, we don't have the football games, the basketball games. We don't have the Bureau of Highway Safety grants and those kinds of things. But at the same time, what we did have is the school had got a lot of money in a CRF grant, and they asked for some security at their schools because of the fact that at the beginning of the school, these kids were all outside the building as much as they could be, and they were worried about security issues for that. So they were able to write that into grant money, and the officers worked a lot of hours at the schools, and they were very much appreciated for doing that. And then the next thing is the school resource officer, and those are the salaries and fringe benefits for the officers. For the 2 officers, we have one at the high school and one at the middle school, and they also cover the rest of the district as well. They're basically one is based at each of those schools, but they do cover the whole district. And the school pays for 75% of that cost, and the town pays for the remaining 25%. So if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, or at least try.
So who's Molly? We got Molly to everyone.
On Borman.
Who is it?
Don
It's Don.
Borman.
Oh, Don Borman. Okay, Chief, he's got a question there. Could you go back to heating? Is it propane or oil? I can answer that. That's propane.
It's propane.
The total doesn't match the written cost. Kelly, can you address that?
Yeah, Mike Rosenbaum and I were just talking about that. So the narrative's wrong. The budget number is correct. And if you go in your budget book, if you flip back over to the heating fuels budget, you'll notice 3,554 gallons times $1.09 is 38.74. So the budget's right. It's just the narrative number's wrong.
Okay. Does that help, Don? Any other questions for the chief? What, we got Dana. Dana's
Yeah.
asking.
Now, there's gonna be another cargo for the SROs.
Yes, what we're doing, Dana, is we're replacing a patrol vehicle.
Yeah,
Like we didn't last year, but we do every other year, obviously. So we're replacing, the new car that we'll be purchasing will be a new patrol vehicle. And actually, the deputy chief's vehicle will be going to the school resource officers for their use. And then the oldest patrol vehicle right now, mine is the oldest one, actually, other than the one that's one of the SROs. But the next oldest one will be stripped down and the deputy chief will be using that one.
will the one that's going for the school resource officer have the wrap put on it that says police and everything?
We're going to, we haven't really made the final decision on what we're going to do with that, but it is going to be well marked so they know what it is. It is it's the deputy chief's vehicle right now. That is an unmarked vehicle, but we will be marking it up with school
Yeah,
resource officer stuff.
I think that's important. It really looks good to me when you go by the
Yep.
school and you see a car sitting there with police written all over it. It would make
Yeah, and
anybody think twice.
That's the reason why we wanted one at the school to begin with, was for visibility. So absolutely, we're going to mark it up and we're going to make it pretty somehow, Dana.
I think it's important. I mean, it shows up from the road and it could change somebody's mind.
I agree.
Anything else for the chief? Okay, I just want to make a couple of comments about the Oakland Police Department. Most of you, or a lot of you, follow the town social media page, and those of you who do most likely saw the Spotlight series that we ran on all of our town employees. Well, the police department really took a big chunk of that. Most of their police officers, the chief and the deputy chief, all agreed to be interviewed so we could do a little story on everybody. You know, and those of us with social media realize that it's pretty easy to go and have a negative comment or hit a dislike or an angry face or whatever. Out of all of those police officers, including leadership, we never got a negative comment. As a matter of fact, they generated more positive comments than pretty much any other employee that we had in the town of Oakland. And, you know, that says a lot for your police department, because you can go around here to different area police departments and a lot of these residents don't really like them. Our police department's well respected and loved in the town of Oakland. And, you know, and it starts at the top. So thank you, Chief, Deputy Chief, for the good jobs
Thank
that you
you.
guys have done. Anything else for the police department? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
So we're going to be moving on to third-party requests. And what I want to do on that is I'm going to have Ryan put us all up on the screen. And because I got an idea there's going to be some action on this. And what I'd like to do is, Mike, you're going to kind of oversee this process, if you would. If you have questions or comments, hold your hand up and hold it there until somebody can go and get you. And Ryan's going to be watching, and when Mike calls your name, he'll unmute you so that we can listen to what you have to say. Mike, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Again, I guess, Kelly, you got a bunch of surveys done with the numbers from 0.
I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't hear back from 6 people. But right now, if I sort this,
while she's sorting through, Gary, the only sheet I have on third-party requests, and I only have 8 of them on organizations, and conservational groups, I only have 5, unless there's an update. And I only have 3 on economic development organizations. Am I correct?
Yeah, those are all correct. We didn't get the same number this year for the request on the community service. We got 8 of them, with one of them being the first time request, and that's an operation out of Bangor. And I highlighted that. So I had forgot about how we had done this year before last and or last year. And Dawn had mentioned about the grading these organizations where the top tier provided the most service for the town, the second tier provided a little less service, and then the bottom tier actually providing less service. So I sent out a new score sheet to all of the participating members here and asked them to score it. There was a couple of comments on it, which I appreciate. And we've gotten, like Kelly said, we've gotten back a lot of them, but we're still waiting on 6. And for this to be effective, we're going to have everybody's. Okay.
Yeah, so right
So-
now,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
right now, the top 3 are Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter, Spectrum Generations, and Sexual Support and Crisis Center. Next is KV Cap, Child and Family, then Hospice Volunteers of Waterville, KV Cap Transportation, and then Kennebec Behavioral Health. So those are our top 3, then middle 2, and last 2.
And I don't have any numbers in front of me. Looking down across the conservation organization, could you tell me the difference in each one of those, what they asked last year and what they're asking for this year? And I apologize, I cannot find it. And I spilled water on things too, so that doesn't help either. So,
You have that information, Kelly?
but do you have it, Gary?
I don't have it with me. I don't have last year's budget numbers with me, but Kelly might have it. She's at her computer at work.
Gary,
Yes, Dawn.
Mike wasn't there last night. I don't know if he caught that we didn't give any money out last year, so there was nothing on the budget as appropriated or expended.
Yep.
And the
Right.
whole idea was to just take these 7 and order them individually as we saw fit, and then combine the total numbers. So really, it shouldn't matter who's on top or in the middle now. I think the thing is we should just be giving our numbers and have those all totaled at the end. And then, whatever the highest 3 numbers are, you would just designate as 1,500, 1,000, and 500. So I don't know how we can get these to you. I'm one of the 6 who didn't get them in yet. You could take a individual count tonight of those who don't, or you could just have us drop them off tomorrow and you could rank order them. The basic thought was that $7,500 is allotted. It'll all be spent. How we spend it will be based on, how we vote as a group. So, it doesn't matter to me either way. The easiest is to get them to you tomorrow so you can add these to the ones you have. The other one is you could ask each of us individually to give you.
You could direct message me through the chat 1 through 8 and what your rank is as well, if you know how to do that.
Yeah.
We are prepared to take the numbers tonight.
What's that?
I said we are prepared to take the numbers tonight if somebody wants to verbalize it.
Well, we could each just, one by one go through them. I could say like number 1, 5, number 2's 1. It'll just take longer to type those in than just to
Send me a copy.
I'm quick.
No, I got just a comment thinking about this, what were we going to give out last year? I know we didn't give any money. I got that. We're going to give out
Last year, we
7,000.
had $12,000 budgeted. The top 3, we're gonna get 15, or the top 4, we're gonna get 1,500. The middle 4, we're gonna get 1,000, and the bottom 4, we're gonna get 500.
That's exactly what I was asking, Kelly. Thank you so much. Well, I was just thinking, and this year, we're gonna go with a figure of 7,500.
That's because we have less people
We
participating.
got less people. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we got 6 people that did not turn in the numbers. I happen to be one of them. Don Borman, I don't know who else did not or was unable to. So I guess we could I hate to postpone anything, but table it, or how do you want to do this? So we could take and go for, we could take and get down through this real quick with a 6, because I've already listed off who I think should get money. We can hang on to the organization while we're doing that. We can look at the conservational organization, see how we want to do those. So, you know, I think conservation stuff, Friends of Messalonskee Watershed, the Seven Lakes Alliance. I just me personally, I don't think we should be doing too much to change that, because we need our lakes, we need to take care of our lakes. So that's just me.
And historically, Mike, we've never touched those. Those have always been paid out at full ask.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Anybody got any other comments on that? On the conservation organization? So I'm gonna set forth a motion that on conservation organizations, number 1 through 5, what they've asked for, we give them. Can I get a second from anybody? Dana?
Well, the way we're going to have to do this, Mike, actually, we're going to vote on this during the last meeting, and it has to be voted separately between council and our budget advisory committee. So, yep, unless you're just trying to go and do kind of a poll to find out where people are on it.
Polls, if anybody wants to talk about it, is what I was trying to do.
Okay.
So, does anybody have any conversation? If you don't have any conversation, we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
No
And
conversation.
so if that's the case, I think it would be easier if you take the time and just shoot me an email tomorrow or Kelly, and we'll get this. So you, the 6 of you that haven't sent it in, you know who you are, and we'll be waiting for your emails tomorrow. If I don't get them, you'll be hearing from me. Other than that, I think that's all we have, Mike.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions? None. Good to go. David, where are you? Can we get a motion, David? David, second.
Second,
There you go, second. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.